Sure. So let me tell you a little bit about Lakson Investments Venture Capital. It's actually backed by the Lakson Group, which is one of the largest conglomerates in Pakistan. Everything from FMCG such as Colgate-Palmolive, McDonald's Pakistan, Cybernet, one of the largest fiber optic companies, Express Media, Tribune. So they have an investment arm, which is called Lakson Investments. And Lakson Investments is actually the largest private asset manager in Pakistan, upwards of $300 million in under management. So they launched a private equity fund about 2 years ago, and last year they launched a venture capital fund. So I myself have been active in venture capital in the US. I've scaled companies in the past. I've built businesses in Pakistan in the technology sector. So I essentially had timed it in such a way, my move back to Pakistan, where the technology adoption curve was peaking. So to give you kind of a backdrop of that, is that in India and the rest of the region, 3G and 4G launched in 2008 and 10. In Pakistan, 3G and 4G launched in 2014-15. And so consequently that lag effect, because smartphones are dependent, seeding of smartphones is dependent on data. So essentially that lag effect, I knew the catalyst was going to kick in around 2019 to 2020. I was again speculating, but you try to time it with that. And so the best time to launch a VC fund is when you have a critical mass of users. So to give you some numbers, Pakistan today has roughly 73 million odd data users. Primarily, majority of those are coming from smartphones and from 3G, 4G. And so if anyone launches a platform today, the scaling of that is going to be so rapid versus doing it 5 years ago, where your essentially active target market that was digital was less than 15 million. And so timing is everything. So this is why we decided that this very undercapitalized market, it's the best time to put in money. Sure. So we're a bit more conservative because we typically don't invest in a business unless we see it succeeding. So as risky as this asset class is, our objective is that for our investors, we try our level best to ensure that the chances of failure are lesser. So how do we go about that? So typically we spend a lot of time assessing the founder. So you'll meet one of our founders that's here today, Faisal Aftab from bookme.pk. There was at least a 2 to 3 month period where we met multiple times, got to know each other, and so we were assessing his capability, that can he handle stress, the stress of making payroll, because entrepreneurship is not an easy endeavor. There's a lot of trials and tribulations that you have to go through. And so that's one of the main components. And then subsequently we do planning, we do financial due diligence, we do operational due diligence, and we then project out a 5-year model for the company where we do planning for investments. So we basically put in enough money to make sure the company can be successful for 24 to 36 months. And then we have relationships with regional funds all over the world that essentially will come in and put money in companies we've backed. So right now in Pakistan, platforms that essentially meet any supply and demand gap or create efficiency using technology are going to scale. Pakistan is the 6th most populous country in this planet. However, services and in general, all sorts of gaps and inefficiencies exist in the market. So technology platforms, for example, bus e-ticketing or educational technology, these type of platforms are of most interest. I mean, the other platforms I can name that were actually 2 investments that we've done, we're going to be announcing in a couple of months. One is digital payments. So they're digitizing government to citizen payments. The other one is agri-tech, where they're actually creating an efficiency in the mandi and essentially disrupting the entire Aarti system and documenting it so that price disparity and price discovery is made symmetric. So typically B2C, B2B, consumer focused within businesses, these are our most desired platforms. Sure. So look, the first thing is, before you get into this, you need to know why you're going into entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship is probably the toughest thing that one can endeavor one can take on. And essentially, a lot of people jump into entrepreneurship because it's a fad or it's a fashion. You really have to make sure that the product or the platform you're offering has value. Is it scalable? It simply should not just be a copy and paste. It should look for a problem and then look for a solution on how technology can be brought in to make that problem more efficient or solve that problem. So we become their soundboard. I mean, ultimately, it's always about the human relationship. So when I said earlier that we spend time getting to know the founder, typically we develop a personal relationship with the founder. So Faizan is from Bookme is here. You can ask him these questions, that how how much we helped him on a day-to-day basis. And usually it's the idea is always the founders, the thought process is the founders, but I'm available on a daily basis. He and I chat on a daily basis. And so he'll give me a quick ring. He's like, here's a problem, here's an idea, what do you think? And it's quick decision making, helping him through experience. And if I can't answer the question, then I'll call up with someone in our network or someone in the investment committee. So that's how we help them constantly. So multiple challenges exist in Pakistan, but that's okay because that's why the opportunity exists today, right? Typically in the entrepreneurial realm, if there's challenges, one just goes after those challenges. So everything from regulation is a big challenge. Your taxation system, which is not clear for early stage companies, capital controls, flow money in and out of the country. Now the most recent layer has been also the provincial tax versus the federal tax. So it's regulatory based, but these aren't problems that can't be solved. The challenge we tend to face is lack of investor knowledge as well as investees. So many entrepreneurs don't know whom to approach at what time, and that's okay because this is going to evolve as an ecosystem. Many investors don't know what the right percentage is to take. So for example, if you're an early stage seed investor or an angel investor, if you take 50 to 60% of a company, somebody like myself or my fund is not going to invest because we want to invest in the founder, not the investor. So ideally, founders should have majority equity because they have to go through multiple rounds of dilution. So again, these are just basic level challenges in Pakistan, but I don't think as companies like Kareem, BookMe, they scale, not the founders, but the actual employees in these companies. When they come out and start companies or join other startups, they get trained. And so the ecosystem as a whole will evolve, and the regulators will also provide solutions. I mean, if you look at Facebook and you look at Uber, they faced regulatory hurdles even in the US, but they figured them out as they went along. So these events are actually pivotal and critical for getting the entire community together. So we all work in our silos and we get so busy, both the entrepreneurs as well as the actual investors. So when events like this happen, international, domestic investors, entrepreneurs, we all come on one table. And that's really where we learn from each other and we share feedback and collaborate. So many deals where other funds have worked together have happened subsequent to these events. So these are very pivotal, and the more that happens, the better off this ecosystem is going to become.